All right, rain showers, 44 degrees. Rain going to be ending by late morning today. Partly cloudy, 60 later on, says weatherman Roger Hill. Clouds tonight, 37. And Wednesday, mid-50s, on and off rain showers, especially in the afternoon. And then Thursday, rain and near 60. But looks like sun might be coming out. As we get closer to the weekend, we'll watch it carefully for you. Pardon my voice. I've lost a little bit of it here over the weekend, but I'm on the rebound and feeling much better. And I bring to you an amazing guy that we've been wanting to get on the podcast for a long time now. Next Sweet, my God, man, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Brother, it's so nice to have you here. Marcel Gravel, he calls you the GOAT, man. He's like, that's the dude right there. He's like, you got to get Nick Sweet on. Are you the GOAT?
Maybe to him. I'm probably old to him. He grew up watching me race against his dad.
Yeah.
And then now he's racing against me, so... Not that I am extremely old, but to him, probably a bit old.
How old are you?
I am. My wife told me this the other day. I thought I was older than I was. I'm 37. I thought I was 38. So I'm still pretty young.
Now, did you slightly exceed the allotted speed limit getting here just now?
Yeah. My memory. The older I get,
there's
just more things that grab you in other directions. Get the kids to school. And
sure. And you have, 3 kids now?
I do, and they keep me very busy. So it's
God,
that's man. A good thing.
That's Marcel said that he was slightly exceeding the speed limit at times when he was on his way here.
We're getting prepped for Thunder Road.
That's right.
That's what we got to do. We got to start pressing the limits. The police give us some looks, maybe turn the blue lights on, and you just keep going.
Let's start with we're gonna have some fun. I mean, we're not gonna get too technical, but let's start with when you started exceeding the speed limit as a young driver. Christmas Eve, you put in a Accord into some ledge, I think, when you were running late on the way home.
Did you go to the police records or something? I did. You know the history of me more than happened? I want to admit. Yeah, I was. I had a girlfriend back then, and I was supposed to be home 2 hours early, and I was trying to make up that 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it was probably only 3 or 4 miles from the house, but yeah, I definitely put my parents' Honda Accord at the time in a ledge, and I remember getting home, and my dad's like, "You're late." I'm like, "We got bigger problems now. Your car's missing headlights and fenders," and I knew then I wanted to be a race car driver. So,
wow. How much damage did you do?
Oh, it had to go to the body shop, and I was young enough. I was 16 years old, maybe 17 years old. But that's a story that we still talk about as a family because it was right during the holidays.
Yes.
Me being in up-class standings, it was like midnight as it was here.
Right.
And icy road. After I hit the bridge, I never wrecked a car like that, so I just kept going. Well, the police didn't seem to like that you left the scene of the accident.
Yes.
So it was all a good learning experience at a very young age.
Were things on Christmas morning a little tense?
Yeah, I don't even remember. I just remember that night getting home, and that was the code I used. And I just, like I say, now, if you look back on it, it's funny. But back then, you thought you were going to wake up and maybe see the next day.
Yes, right. 2016 ACT champion. 2-time Thunder Road champion, 4-time Milk Bowl champion. My God, dude, can?
I'm real fortunate. I'm Barrie native, and I get to go up in my own hometown and race in front of all my family and friends, and all the Barrie veterans and people from around. And it's something as a young kid I always wanted to do, and then to go and get those credentials, that just far past your dreams when it comes to that era.
And now you're built in cars. Tell us about what you do.
Yeah, so I work for Eric Chase, and I build his race cars for him and keep them maintained. And Eric's a great guy, a lot of fun to go to the racetrack with. And then on top of it, I run a performance parts business now, and I'm trying to expand more and more. It's kind of like anything. You get involved and a little bit older, and you try to get a little bit more involved in it. So now I got that going, and the 3 kids, so it's just spreading you in a lot of directions.
I bet. And your wife is putting up with all this?
My wife is the rock to the family. She's a better, even when it comes to running the little performance parts business, she's a better business savvy person. She does a great job as a mom. I'm a fortunate guy.
My God, man. You've got to learn how to strike a balance almost daily as you go into it.
Yeah, and I fail at that daily.
Yeah.
Right now, I can tell you the racing is definitely outweighing everything because we're 3 weeks away from Thunder Road. And cars got to get done, and all the loose odds and ends that you had all winter to do, you're trying to button them up now. So we're getting there. Like I say, the racing season, it always sneaks up on you every year, but it's rapidly approaching this year.
Yeah. Do people have to, maybe kind of be like, hey, Nick, remember I just said something to you 5 minutes ago? Focus, pal.
Well, what happened to us today? I'm late because you got about 4 different things pulling you in different directions. So it's that's just life. That's a good life goes by fast.
Of course,
especially it seems like when you're young, it feels like you just want to be old and you can't wait to do old things. And then when you're getting older and you got kids and stuff, you just want it to slow down and be able to grasp it in a little bit. But it's flying by.
If you could go back to age 18, 19, 20, even early 20s, and say by the time you're in your mid to late 30s, you're going to be building cars for Eric Chase. You're going to be a 4-time Milk Bowl winner. You've pretty much won everything at Thunder Road.
Yeah, I never would have thought that before. And I'm thinking back in my mid-20s, I was still
married with 3 kids.
Yeah, definitely was not that. Was finding my way in a lot of different directions. I had a lot of cool jobs when I was younger, and I think they gave me some balance even as today. But back then, it feels like almost a whole lifetime ago. Like no kids with no responsibility.
Right.
Trying to find the next girlfriend to hang out with. That's it's like a whole lifetime ago. It's just a whole different venue.
My God, it's amazing that this is really. Of course, it's your life, but it's also become your career. It's who you are. It's what you do.
That is true. That is. There's a lot of other things that I get to do that are, and my kids are actually what broadened me to do other things. Because otherwise, I'd probably become a hermit in the shop if it wasn't for my wife and kids.
Yeah.
My kids, they play a lot of sports. So in the wintertime, they get me, the BYSA hockey program's great. So I go with them and do that. And then my daughter, she goes to the Fleck Farm, and she rides horseback, and then she figure skates, and we're busy people. But I wouldn't trade any of that for anything.
I'm gonna ask you, and just want to give you a heads up. I'm gonna ask you, which kiss of the cow was the sweetest for you in just a little bit. But first, tell me how you got started in the street stocks, and then you shifted gears. Welcome the pun there into the Tigers.
Yep. So it was even before the street stocks. How I got started, I kind of grew up.
You were a warrior, right?
No, I ran Enduros before that, but I grew up.
God, that's right.
Here in Barrie. My dad worked on a guy. This is back in like the late 80s, early 90s. But he worked on a guy's race car right here in Barrie, and the guy owned a stone shed. And I remember going down to a stone shed and always smelling that napper in the shed. And
it's Mike Pelkey.
It was Mike Pelkey. and we'd go to the races and root him on. I always had it's funny, I got pictures when I was a little kid with like his shirt on, and we'd go down to the shed, and I remember running around with a guy now people may have heard of, Matt Goslant, because Kenny Goslant was a sponsor of Matt. Or Mike, and Matt and I would run around the shed and look at him now. Now I think he's managing Loud, and he's going way beyond.
He is.
But it's funny how those roots stem just in the grassroots of here of Barrie. And then, so Mike wanted to have a family, so he got done racing. My dad helped a gentleman by the name of Mike Bootsy, owns Bootsy's Garage right here in local Barrie. And Mike taught me a lot of aspects as I got older. Then I started going to the races in the pits with them and learning a little bit of the aspect. And Mike Bootsy had the right attitude when he got out of the car. No matter what, we always had fun. It was never mean to his help or anything like that. And that kind of stuff, you don't realize that stuff, but that stuff goes a long way in the whole grand scheme of things. You're kind of like a family when you go and do that, and you take a lot of time out of your personal life to go to the racetrack and do that stuff. Sure. But that's really where it began. And then from there, I was 16 years old. You know the story of wrecking my parents' car.
Yes.
Well, I got a better one than that you probably don't know about.
Please.
It was actually at Thunder Road. I was helping Kerry Henry, local kid from Barrie. I went to Spalding with him. He raced the street stock, and I wanted to start helping. So I went up there, and my parents bought me this car. I think it was from Jim Bootsy, which is Mike's son. And I remember they used to use it. He was on the Raiders, played that minor league football stuff. And I think he said he bought the car for like a 12-pack of beer. Like, it was a real gem. And so my parents got it for me, and Jim was giving it away. And I drove it for a while, but we're at Thunder Road after the races. And I went to pull down into line to get out of the races, and the brakes did not work. And I remember walking by this car on the way out of the races. It was like a Camaro. They made like 10 of them. It was a special edition. That was the car I hit.
Oh, my God,
yeah,
dude.
This was like 3 weeks before we actually ran an Enduro. And those were the two most remembering wrecks that I ever had in a car when I was young. And I really don't look forward to my kids when they get to that age, because I just remember the dumb things I would do in a car.
Right.
So after that, we got a race car anyways. It was an Enduro car. And my dad and we built it. I was working for John Pelkey, Memorial Sandblast at the time, and we were driving through Waterbury. It was a place called Majestic Auto, I believe.
Yeah.
And they had a Chevy Cavalier out back, and John's like, you want that, you can build that as an Enduro car. And I didn't tell my dad, yeah, I want it. So I brought this home, and I remember my dad saying, what are you bringing home? And you're putting it on my lawn. Like, they live in Barrie City. They don't want an unregistered piece of garbage on their lawn. So we built it up anyways. I remember we actually asked Mike Bootsy, and he let us bring it down there and build it. And he was a big role in my early career.
Yeah.
That's where I built all my race cars. Mike let us put our race cars there. And he was, even to today, he's just a great mentor, and he's done a lot for me, and not only racing, just as an individual. So.
Wow.
So I'm very fortunate, and that's kind of how it all began. And then we started racing street stocks, and that's where I met you.
Yeah, 2003, I think it was.
Yeah, it was back, this is a while back, but I remember Harry Daniels.
Daniels.
He was a guy, I used to mow his grass.
God bless him.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Yes.
Loved jazz.
And he loved you, man.
He was actually like a big friend to me. We would go to Boston Red Sox games, and I remember going to Cooperstown with him.
Yes.
And he was a part of getting me a sponsorship through, it was at the time 107.1 Work FM.
Yes, that's
And,
right. That's
right
when
here,
I met you.
Yep. That is where I met you, and I met a lot of great people a part of that era. But that's where it all kind of began. And then when I ran full-time at Thunder Road, I remember when you were working at the other radio station and stuff, I had you guys as radio station my whole kind of career, like full-time,
right,
when I ran full-time back then. And then, as you know, I kind of weaned off racing up here full-time and started rooting out to traveling a little bit more. And there's a lot of times I miss just, it was like, again, when you're younger, you think it's a big deal, but it was almost a more simple way of doing it. Was not my job. It was my hobby.
It was a hobby.
And
That's right.
As you know, now things have changed a bit, which is it's a great thing. But it's funny how everything was more simplified back then.
I'll never forget ever how Harry would come into the studio in Froggy in the morning. And he would say to me, "You got to get this guy Nick Sweet on the air. I'm telling you, this kid, look out. I'm telling you."
You sound just like him. I can picture him
Harry
right now.
Daniels. God damn it.
Yeah, he was, man, he was a good guy. Harry was, it's funny. So Harry was very patient with me because in the beginning, I can't even remember how I met him, but I know he basically wanted me to mow his grass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was an awful employee. I'd show up when I kind of felt like it. And his mom, she was a great lady, Ruby. She was like 150 years old when I met her.
Yeah.
And she was this
firecracker,
little lady, and they had a dog by the name of Ziggy.
Yes.
And I remember that was what she hated it, that I was a terrible employee. She'd call up my parents and be like, "He didn't show up again to mow the grass." Because I think that was a big thing to her.
Oh, my God.
And he taught me aspects that he didn't even realize. So you got to show up to, and he was very, very, like, he never was mean towards it, but I'm sure he was disappointed at the time that I was a terrible employee back then. Not very dependable, but we became good friends, and he helped me a lot along the way.
Yeah, he's a wonderful man. We miss him dearly, and he introduced me to a lot of people. You're one of many. So then you get into the Tigers quickly. It seems like that came kind of soon.
Yeah, so we ran 2 years in the street stocks.
Yeah.
And then
your name was popping up in my news feed every Friday morning.
I was fortunate. For whatever reason, people, like even the writers and the news, and people they seem to like me.
Yeah.
Which it never hurts to have the media on your side. That makes you look a lot better than you really are most of the time. Or it can go the other way.
Right.
But they like me, and I was very fortunate. So, yeah, we built a Tiger car, did it right down to Mike Bootsy's place, built it. My dad, Keith Fortier, that now works for Joe Gibbs, he's moved down south and made that his career. So Larry was Keith's dad, and Keith raced against me when we were in street stocks. He was a good friend of mine. We ran RC cars when we were kids, and I remember I had this Buick Riviera, and we ran. It was we call her my meme because my mom's French.
Yeah. So
I remember we're going to North Haverhill on RC cars. This is a story kind of off topic, but you know the hill on 302, you're coming up the Orange School on the left, and then you have that long drag hill. I remember Keith.
Yes.
He would be like, I remember following like 3 or 4 cars. And this is another dumb move, but don't do this if you're driving. He'd be like, "We need to pass these guys." So I would just set sail.
I know exactly where you're talking.
You can't
about.
even see over the crest of the hill now, and you're thinking when you're driving up that hill, you're like, "Man, that was dumb." Like, that was just dumb.
Yes.
So yeah, he became a great help to me, and he helped me. And I know I'm bouncing ahead here, but he helped me in the Tiger cars, build the car, and then he stuck around until my freshman year of late models, basically, or rookie year, and then he went south and started pursuing his NASCAR career.
Amazing.
And that's where he's at now. He still works. He's working for Joe Gibbs. I think he's actually working with Ty now.
Oh, my God. What'd you think of Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer. What'd you think of that?
You know, I honestly don't. I watched it on the social media because when I get home at work or from work, I will sit on the couch once in a while and watch just Facebook. And I saw it on the Facebook feed. I don't even know what led up to it. I don't know. It shows that they got emotion.
Yeah.
They're young kids. They look really young. They still have hair.
Yes.
But good for them that they got some passion towards it.
Have you ever been in a scuffle?
I'm trying to. I don't think I've ever put my hands on somebody or had somebody put their hands on me. Probably verbal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of verbal.
Yeah.
But up here they do a really good job. For the most part, the people that race up here, it is their hobby.
Yeah.
To go, and I was really fortunate. I drove when Tom Curley was the promoter.
Yeah.
And he preached like you don't put your hands on people. He was a really stern kind of military type leader, but it worked for that era.
There isn't a driver that I've had on Aired Out where we don't talk about Tom Curley. Bill Donahue was just in here a few days ago. Stephen Donahue was just in here a few days ago. Marcel Gravel. We always talk about Tom Curley.
Well, he was kind of the Grand Poobah, you call it, of
our
racing up here.
He called you the King of Barrie.
Yeah, Tom was funny. He could separate racing from real life. So Tom, when you get to the racetrack, heck, I remember he kicked my dad and I out after one race one time. So, but the next week we were back at it. One thing I can tell you about Tom Curley, this is a story that I haven't told that many people. A lot of my friends know this, but I remember one time we were at Beach Ridge racing up in Maine.
Yep.
And Tom called me, and he's like, I know you got your family with you. He's like, why don't you get into the hotel? There's a hotel right down the road. I have a beach house right I can't remember what beach it's called. I wish I could remember it, but anyways, he had this beach house. He's like, why don't you bring your kid? And at the time, it was just Isaac. He's like, why don't you bring your son by, and you guys just enjoy the beach out in front of my house? And we went over there, and he acted like he was like a grandfather almost. Like we had hot dogs and sat on the back porch and listened to him talk some great stories. So I had a different. And the funny thing is, you had that relationship with him outside of racing. Then you get to the racetrack and you wouldn't even want to make eye contact with a guy.
Different man. Amazing?
He could separate friendship, and he really liked the people. Like, it wasn't only me he would do that with. He would do that with, I remember Derek O'Donnell. I think he said he went there with his family, and he's a guy I know that raced against me at the time. And same with different eras of racers. So he had a good relationship with his racers. He just knew how to separate it when he was at the racetrack.
Did you ever get a little hot with him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we never... I remember being in his farmhouse one time after an altercation because we were not coming back to Thunder Road, and we hashed it out. My dad, Dean Gallison, Tom Curley, we were all sitting down at his farmhouse, and the one thing I'll say about Tom is he was always fair. Right or wrong.
Everybody says that.
Well, right or wrong, and let me tell you, he made mistakes, as we all do. But he always sat back and thought it through, and whether you liked it or not, it was going to be that way, but it was always fair, and he always looked at it in every way you could. So I really looked up to him as a promoter, and I think that Chris Michaud's doing a great job. The hard thing is Chris Michaud has huge shoes to fill. Tom Curley, by the time I had come through, he was very weathered. He had a lot of experience. And then you had Ken Squire that was the owner with him on it too. So you had big shoes to fill when they came in. They're doing a really good job up there.
How does it feel to be one of only two men who have won the Milk Bowl 4 times? You and Robbie Crouch, right?
It's never enough. No matter how many wins, the one thing I can tell you about winning and racing, and those 4 times are going to be something that I remember, especially when you hang up the helmet.
My God. Yes.
But I can tell you, I'm already looking forward to the next race. It's human nature. It's just like people that make successful businesses. It's never enough. They always go for the next thing and the next thing and the next. It's just like that in life. Like you'll win those races, but I'm going to the next one wanting to win that one, and it's just as important.
Milk Pole, 2015, 2016, 2 in a row right there.
Yeah.
And then October of 21. I'm missing one here.
There was one.
15, 16, 21.
I'm trying to think. It might have been 14 as well.
Okay.
Might have been.
God, man.
Yeah. No, it was. I've had some good milk bowls. That's the up at Thunder Road. That's one of the more prestigious races they have up there.
Yeah.
And it's the end of the year, and winter's coming. And that race, not that we don't put a lot of effort in all the other races, but that race just seems to get extra effort put into it. This is the last race of the year up here at Thunder Road. And what way to settle on? That was the last race of my year last year. So to sit on win throughout the winter,
right?
It's a lot more gratifying than sitting on a DNF.
So you, Tyler Cahoon, Jason Corliss, Derek O'Donnell, all 1 year 50-lap qualifiers. You had a track record time, first segment winner, pole position, and then you won. Unbelievable, dude.
And that was with my personal race team. So that's the team that would have been a part of the 1071 gang way back in the day.
That's right.
And we built that car. It took me like 4 years to build. So there was a milk bowl. We had won the super late model race the night before. And then we went to the milk bowl with our personal car. It was like 4 years ago now. I'm trying to think. It might have been 2017. It still makes the highlight reel on some of these TV shows. So I hit the wall pretty hard and rode the catch fence, and that totaled my personal car and shattered my budget for a couple years. So it took me a while to put back my personal car, and this past year was the first time I had brought my personal car back in 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
And then we went back and won. So that was, for me, self-reflecting, that was a pretty neat deal to go back and run as good as we did.
Speaking of walls, new track, new pavement over there, new grandstands, new lighting. Chris has done an amazing job.
Yes, they've done. So it's hard because there's people that, if you're trying to capture the history, it doesn't feel like the old Thunder Road.
Right.
It's new and improved.
Yes.
But everything does evolve. You look outside here in Barrie, go back 20 years ago,
right,
and the city did not have all these beautiful buildings that it has now.
Yeah.
So things do evolve. So people that are trying to grasp the old Thunder Road, yeah, I miss the old Thunder Road. I loved the old Thunder Road. But everything with change is a good thing too. And things evolve. Their lighting they've put in there, I don't know if I've heard anybody complain of the lighting. You actually can see where you're going now.
That's right.
The pavement, they've done a great job with the pavement. The thing I do hear the most is people complain about the wall. The wall is a retaining wall.
Turn 4.
Yeah, well, it's turn all the way around. There's a wall all the way around the place now.
Yeah, right.
And people are not used to that yet. But it's still the same Thunder Road footprint. It just has a wall around it now, so it makes it feel like it's more confined.
You've mentioned that right around turn 2 is different for you as a driver now, since Chris and Pat have taken ownership of the track. It's a different feel on the track now. You have an opportunity to get on the accelerator a little bit more.
Yeah, and so before, you'd be coming off a turn 2, and there was no wall. Like, you could see tree out in the backstretch, but the racetrack, it felt wider. And now the way turn 2 is designed, it feels like you're coming out of turn 4. So it put an excitement factor in. It definitely, the one thing I will say the wall has done is it's made it harder to escape accidents. So before, with no wall, say there was an accident in the middle of the racetrack, you could go off the racetrack
Right.
and still avoid. Granted, you probably make damage going off the racetrack,
Sure.
but now you got an option. Do I run into the wall?
Yeah.
Or do I try to play dodge ball here, and we're going to try to dodge the cars? So it just made it more confined when there's accidents. But I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. The only thing is, obviously, when you hit things, it adds expense.
Yeah.
So you got to look at all those aspects when you're building a racetrack, as they did. I think the wall definitely keeps things contained now. You don't have to worry about cars making out to the parking lot like they used to. And
Tracy Belrose.
yeah, like you have a containment now, so it's definitely safer and more fan friendly when it comes to that.
Yeah. You remember that Tracy Belrose ride?
That was they had angels that day, because people walk from turn 4 to turn 3 all the time.
Yeah.
And she landed in the walkway of that, and thank God nobody's walking
Can you
through
imagine?
there.
My God.
That's what I mean. Like, even though it's different now, it's for sure safer.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind and I'm sure that's exactly when they were building Thunder Road these last couple of years. They're looking at safety. They're trying to make it so it's a family friendly environment, and it's supposed to be fun that you can bring your young kids up there and not have to worry about that kind of stuff happening.
What is it like for you, especially through the winter, with what's going on in your head, with expectations, with hopes? My God, I mean, you've pretty much won everything up there. I mean, what if you don't do well? What if you don't have a good season? What if you?
I've had those seasons where I can tell you, when you start getting, and everybody has expectations to a certain point, but if you start getting expectations out of this world, the one thing I can tell you with expectations, if you don't meet them, there's disappointment.
Right.
If you go up there, I've gone to racetracks before, never been there, no expectations. That's usually the most fun I'll have, because you go there with zero expectation. You don't even know the place. And if you go and have a successful day in your mind, whether it's finishing even 10th place and you had an expectation of 0, you leave the place with a far better feeling than going to a racetrack expecting to say, okay, I should run 5th here, and you finish 20th or have a DNF. You leave the place kind of like, ugh, that was a waste of a day. So in Thunder Road, that was a problem that I had as I got racing there full time. You got where you had expectations. You went up there thinking, okay, I should run this good up here. And when you didn't, it was disappointing. So racing, and I think everybody that races has this, there's a lot of mental behind the scenes that you have to have correct. And I think that was one of the things when I was getting towards the end of my full-time racing up there, I didn't have correct. I had expectations. So we went up this past year and far surpassed our expectations. We went up, and I went up with the mentality, I just don't want to wreck my new race car. And we went out, and I was probably a bit tiptoe-ish around the racetrack as we went, even in traffic. But we built a fast race car, and we went and had a great time. So it far surpassed my expectations. So to now go up there this up-and-coming year, we've been doing a lot of prep work, trying to get our program even better. So hopefully we can go up and be faster. So we'll see how that all works out.
So once you get buckled in, you drive to win.
Yeah, for sure. If you you do drive to win, but there has to be a realistic point too. If you're going out when you unload the race car and you're a 20th place car in speed,
Yeah.
the odds of winning are you got 20 people ahead of you that are better.
Sure.
So you got to be realistic with your odds too.
Your three biggest fans, your kids. Fair to say that, quite honestly, at the end of a race, they could really give a crap. Maybe not.
Oh, they
Because ultimately, your dad before anything else, and that's you're already on the podium right there.
And that's where I'm very fortunate that I have that behind me already before I even hit the racetrack. I know that's a big reason.
If you have a shitty night, they're watching how you respond, how you react to it.
You hit it right on the head. So you got some weight on you at that point because you want to make sure that you show the example that was shown to you.
That's it. Yeah. Tell me about the farmer. What the hell's this all about? I mean, Buzzy Fisher and everybody are saying, my God, this picture's got to go viral with you with
Gary Mullen.
Gary Mullen's helmet.
Gary, I race against Gary in the street stocks. He is he's been racing a long time, and he's a great person. He lives in Tunbridge, has a whole herd of a farm and cows, you'll call him, and he's still got a landline in the farm, and you can hear the cows in the background when you're talking to him. So, it's funny, like he'll wreck a race car, and somebody will ask him, that must have really been a bummer. He's like, well, I didn't lose a cow today, so it's okay. So he's just a really good Vermonter.
Yeah.
Like when you go to the Tunbridge Fair, you think of Gary Mullen.
Yeah.
So.
But he gave you one of his helmets.
And Justin St. Louis was funny when he told me this. He's like, I think we saved Gary's life. He said, so Justin was the one that set it all up. And he said, Nick Sweet really on the podcast that you had wants your helmet. Because this thing, I'm telling you, it is a ski helmet. Like it's got
to be 50 pounds.
It's got to be 50 pounds, and you should see the gashes in this helmet.
I saw one of them.
And so Gary, before he gave it to Justin, he's like, I think it's time for a new helmet. He took the helmet, and he could twist it sideways on his head. Like Justin's like, that thing was more danger to him than help. So
it's like a bowling ball.
Yeah, it looked like a bowling ball. And that was as cool as a trophy if I've ever gotten. Like that came in right in the Milk Bowl this past year, and Gary came over and presented it to me, and we took a picture together, and that just tells you how much history's at Thunder Road. And this isn't like the little history that I've been a part of. It's far surpassed my history, but this is so I raced against Gary, and we're talking a 20-year history where Thunder Road it's been around for a long time, and it's got a lot of great memories with it.
What is it, 63?
Yeah.
63 years.
Yep.
So where's the farmer's helmet right now?
I would have to say it's on my trophy shelf.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not really a shelf. My office at the shop, we just kind of throw them in there. So it's got some trophies, and Gary's helmet is along with that. And eventually, I say this every year, I'm going to build a case. It's just time is kind of a problem.
Sure.
So,
did you know what did you think you wanted to do when you were getting ready to graduate from Spalding High School?
I had no idea. I remember, like I say, I was working for Harry Daniels mowing his grass.
Yeah.
That was a part-time job. I was working a lot back then, so I worked at Central Vermont Hospital.
Yeah.
My dad got me a job, and I remember working for Linda Squire. She was the sweetest lady in the world.
Yeah.
And I got through that, and then I had no plan. Like, I remember going to the Berry Vocational and Automotive my senior year, and Keith Fortier went to automotive with me. And Mr. McColgan was our teacher, and there's some good, funny memories of that class back then. But I remember my only desire at that point was to actually race. Like I didn't have any desire to go to college or anything. Since racing has kind of given me a life, and
sure
now I'm like I say, it's my career.
That's right.
Started a performance business, and I had a lot of other, like I worked for Benoit Electric before that as an electrician. I went to school. That's where I went to school finally, and realized I wanted to be an electrician before I made this my full-time job, and I really enjoyed that, but racing has capped it all.
So what's the name of your business?
It's my initials, so it's NES Enterprise. It's just we bring a parts trailer to the racetrack, so any racer that breaks, say in practice or anything. Not that I have everything, because everybody seems to have their own brand and product that they want. But we're expanding more and more, so it helps the racer at the racetrack. And so I sell the parts away from the racetrack as well to the racers. So
That's killer, man.
yeah.
I love it.
Well, you get to be a part of the racing community, and
So
some of the people that you once might have had some rivalries with,
Yeah.
now you sell parts to them, and you have a whole new relationship with them.
Wow. What's Sweet Motorsports? What's Mad Dog Motorsports?
So Mad Dog Motorsports is Eric Chase's race team. So that's who I work for full time. And that was way above me time wise. So he I think he formed that back in like early 2000s. Eric's been racing a long time and been involved in racing in a long time, and he's a great guy to work for. You go there, and this is Eric's way of getting away from his everyday stressful life.
Yeah.
Eric owns, as most people know, Mansfield Heliflight, and he runs a flight academy and does all sorts of stuff. So this here is kind of like his golf game, you could say, just to try to get away from his everyday stresses.
Wow. What about Gary Clay?
Gary Clay has been... Gary comes to the shop probably, I don't know, 2 times in the winter, and then in the summer he goes to the races all the time. He's a guy I remember as a kid back in the it was probably early 90s, late 80s, he actually had a race car. He was a Darrell Waltrip fan, so his cars always had that orange, yellow, and white. It was a street stock.
Yeah.
That he, remember he was a builder, like a house builder, and then he's helped a lot of racers in the past. I think Derek O'Donnell's got some help from him. Eric had him as a sponsor, but I think he still helps Eric, but they've formed a friendship. Like Eric this was before my time, but Eric ran down in Florida at New Smyrna in the wintertime. And Gary still tells me the story. It was Eric's first win in a race car. And Gary was down there with him to feel that moment, and they just have a good friendship. It's Gary's a really good guy.
Wow. You've set up a car for a NASCAR driver?
Yep, I got the opportunity to work with Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell. Kyle was my first experience with working with a NASCAR driver. He was a good guy. He was there for one thing, and it was to win. When he doesn't win, he was not like ecstatic, and he even said before the races, his wife, I think he sent her and Braxton, I think, was really young at the time, but they didn't want to go to the races. They had to go to the races the next day. So I think they went somewhere north to a resort. So Kyle had to go get her and then head back to the racetrack that night. And he was very straightforward. I'm not going to be hanging out with you guys after the races. I have to go get my family. So he was out of there as soon as he unfortunately had an accident at the end and then had to get out of the race car, and he left.
Yeah.
Christopher Bell was young, and he was up and coming. He was doing really good. And I think it was the Xfinity Series at the time he was racing. And he was a super appreciative, super nice kid, like polite, very good race car driver. So,
and you've shared some wheel time with some other drivers too.
Yeah.
At Thunder Road.
Yeah. Well, those two, like, we would go up. So Christopher came to the racetrack before, I think it was a week before. But I remember. So I had the race car I had prepared, and Christopher's there. He'd never seen an ACT car, and you're making sure he's going to fit in it and everything. He's like, well, why don't you take it out for a test drive? So I didn't have my driver's suit. I had a helmet, and I was like, fine, I'll go out. So I went out and did a couple laps, and it's funny, Keith Fortier at the time was working for Gibbs, and that's where Christopher was driving. So Keith calls me the next day, and he's like, so I hear you're now driving without fire suits. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, Christopher called me and he said you're quite a character. So,
Oh my God.
So it was a pretty neat story.
Could have been worse. You could have been wearing the Mullins helmet.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Increase the danger a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But now we got Brad Koslowski who's coming to town middle of July.
Yeah. I
Governor's
actually
Cup.
have raced against Brad before. He ran the Oxford 250 years ago. I believe it was one of John Donahue's cars in the ACT stuff.
Yeah.
And Brad was a good racer and still is. It's his profession, and it should be exciting to see him come. And hopefully he can come and put on a show.
Well, we're working on a list here. We've had Stephen Donahue on, Marcel Gravel. Paco's been on once. We're going to try to get him back. Obviously, you've been on the list. Matt Smith has been on. We're going to try to get him on again real soon. Tyler Cahoon. Jason Corliss is going to be on with me a week from, wait a minute, tomorrow. He's going to be on with me tomorrow, 6 p.m. tomorrow. So looking forward to that. Coop's been on. We're going to get him back. Taylor Hoare will be on. Bobby Therian. Caden Fisher, we're hoping that we might be able to sneak him in. What a kid. What is he, 14 years old now?
He's young. You got quite a lineup there.
He's ripping, man.
Yeah, he's your
kid.
up-and-coming kid. He's definitely the eye and future of what Thunder Road is, and that's exciting to see him come up through. And they got he's doing a real good job, and he's got good guidance from his dad that raced before.
Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's I hope he's got a little bit more talking about him. You ever met Jamie? Jamie,
I have not. I don't think I have.
Jamie's a great guy, but to get him to say hi is like pulling teeth.
Really?
Yeah, I think Caden's more like his mom. He probably can. I remember Jamie in interviews. You might get. Yeah, the car was good.
Oh boy, one of them.
Yeah. But his mom. I think her name's Danielle. But I go up to Caden. I remember last year. Because he was doing a really good job last year.
Yeah.
And I remember going up, and he was just he's my oldest son's age. I believe he's 14. And he was all thankful, and he's definitely a good kid. So
Do your kids want to do this?
they do. So
boy.
my young kids, Ben and Ava, they actually race go-karts at Thunder Road.
Yeah.
They have a Tuesday night program. My oldest son, Isaac, when they first came out with it, he did it, and now he's just gotten a bit too old to do it. And the next step for Isaac is a full-size race car.
Yeah.
And Dad's not quite ready to get out of the seat yet, and I really just don't have the time to take care of Isaac's car plus mine. So, and Isaac really, he's at that age. He's 14 years old. He's playing lacrosse. Plays hockey. I want him to be a kid.
Yes.
If you grow them, I believe in order to have a race car, you should probably have a job, so you have a little bit of financial responsibility to this.
Do you think you'll still be buckling up when Caden Fisher is out in the track?
Let's hope so.
Whew.
Yeah, I am not ready to hang it up. Like I say, I love still getting into a race car, and
Yeah.
right now we're still competitive.
Right.
When that time comes where I'm not as competitive,
Yeah.
and I'm really the guy that they're like, God, he's just senile out there. That's probably the time to hang it up. So,
What about this little Walker Fitch? Have you had a chance to see him?
who is that?
Right,
now?
he runs karts.
What's his name?
Walker Fitch.
I've never even heard of him.
This kid is destroying it.
Really?
Been on the show. Oh yeah.
Or is he racing karts? Is he racing up here?
I think up in Wolcott.
Okay.
Pretty sure up in Wolcott.
So does he race at
Elmore.
Jeff Blow's racetrack?
Yes.
Yep.
Keep an eye out for this kid.
Well, I've actually got a little bit of interest in Jeff Blow's racetrack this year. My brother, Nathan, he's probably going to be the crowd pleaser because he's only probably going to last like 2 or 3 weeks before he blows up. Because he's got a temper. Maybe he'll be as calm as a cucumber, but he actually bought a go-kart, and he's going to go and have fun at Jeff's track. And I hear that's quite a growing thing up there.
Yes,
and
it is.
That's great. Jeff, I I went to school with his son Keith, and they're great people.
Yeah.
So I will go up and root my brother on, and hopefully get to see the fireworks show.
Well, we're also trying to get Peyton Lamphere in here, Kip Stockwell, and Eric Pembroke. So we've got a list going. And
Well,
we're
that's
working on it.
that's a good list. Kip Stockwell, he's a dinosaur.
Now,
in racing.
what will do you think Robbie Crouch is? What do you think's going through his mind? I mean, what if you get another Milk Bowl?
I think that's why he bought a race car. No, I saw Robbie a month ago. Robbie's a really good guy. I think when you're in this game, it's just in your blood. He goes to the racetrack with AJ, which is Ken's daughter. And it's hard to sit on the sidelines no matter what age or what you got going on. So I think when you do it, and Robbie was very, very good in his time, it's hard to sit there and sometimes watch.
Yeah.
So it's exciting that he's got a race car, and I wish him the best of luck, and I hope he has some success and some fun along the way.
I had a few people tell me, Marcel Gravel, one of them. Oh, you're going to try to get in touch with Nick Sweet? Good luck. Guy doesn't even know how to check Facebook Messenger.
You're right.
He was taking a couple of good swings at you, man.
Yeah. It's I never was very phone savvy.
But you're a busy dude. What's a typical day like for you?
There's not enough hours in my day, so I usually get up, bring the kids to school, try to fit in your work with your performance parts business, get Eric's race cars ready, and then it seems like the day's already over, so you're picking the kids back up from school.
Which comes in
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, it's going to happen here shortly, it feels like.
Yeah.
And then you usually try to eat lunch while you're picking the kids up from school.
Of course.
And then from
You
there...
haven't done anything like driving and eating at the same time or anything like that.
I do it every day. And McDonald's is like, they're going to go out of business if I ever decide to not eat anymore. So, but after that, I head back to work, and it feels like midnight's here. And then it's like Groundhog Day. Every day you go back to work. So I try to fit a little bit of time in there with my wife, but you spend too much time with her, and she starts getting annoyed with you anyway. So
yes,
it's
understand.
perfect. Yeah.
So who should we get on the show? Who would you love to see sitting in here in the hot seat?
Oh, boy. There's so many. I think you should eventually try to get Ken Squire. He's getting up there. If you talk to him, he's pretty colorful. Very, very colorful.
Yeah, it might be more of a situation where I go to Ken instead of Ken coming here.
Yeah, he's a big part. So I never told the stories of how, I think I did on Justin's show, but I was racing K&N's car at this time for Steve Hibbard, and I ran 3 races. I got to go to Dover, Loudon, and we went to Rockingham. But I remember Ken, he was trying to get somebody at that time to go NASCAR. And Ken took an interest in me, and I remember he would call me. We'd fill out resumes, and he had me write a resume. I'm not a writer. And so he let me write it, and then he called me up. He's like, all right, I perfected your resume. There was like "and" that was left in the resume from what I wrote. But he sat down and took his time out of his day to try to help me, and he brought this to some big-name people. And it never took fruition, but just that kind of stuff that Ken took me under his wing. And
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. We'd be at the racetrack, and I had Norman Fortier. He was helping me. The whole Fortier family's helped me along the way. But Norman, if you didn't know, he indulges in the beer once in a while.
Yes.
And I remember the races weren't over yet, and Ken knew that we had beer. Ken's like, give me a beer. And we're like, the races aren't over. He's like, I own this damn place anyways, whatever. So we're sitting there having a beer with him when the races are going on. Ken's just a great soul, and he's done a lot for not only motorsports, just this whole area. He's a great individual.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. My God. And I spent so much time back in the late 90s when I was working for the Radio Vermont Group with Dave Moody, and I missed the dude so much. He just got too big and too famous, and he's just kicking ass now. He's on Sirius XM, and he's just everywhere now.
It's funny though when you see him, it's still Dave Moody.
Oh, of course,
of
course it is.
You talk to him, and it's fun. I don't know how.
I miss Dave.
Well, even on maybe I don't get to listen to his show much, but I remember he had such a good radio voice.
Oh, the best.
He could separate,
The
like, you
best.
get him out of racing, and every other word was the F word.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah.
you get him on the air, and he was, like, fluent, perfect.
Sure.
Like, so he is a professional. He's very, very good at what he does. But you still see Dave today, and it's still the same Dave Moody.
I don't know when he's back home here in Vermont, but I don't think it's for very long. It's a touch and go type thing.
He comes up to Thunder Road probably a couple times a year.
Yeah.
And when he comes, you know he's there. You wish, and Aaron does a great job, but there's never going to be another Dave Moody up there. He comes up. He was almost a comedian on top of being an announcer.
His brain was always 30 seconds ahead of his mouth.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, things that he could say and get away with.
Oh.
Like, if you said that, I would come across as like a pervert or something.
Sure,
and
of course.
He was just some of the things he could come out with, and people would laugh.
Best track announcer up T Road?
You would go, yeah. I remember Tim Jarvis used to own Domino's Pizza here in Barrie. Tim was one of my neighbors, and I remember he got interested in racing, I think because of Dave Moody. Like, he's like, I go to the races just to listen to this guy. He picks on everybody, and nobody seems to get mad. Like,
right.
He would make characters that we're not. Look at us. We're not usually characters, and they just make us look better than we are.
Yeah.
So, and he was very, very good at that.
Literally born to be an announcer. And he gives all his credit to Squire. Squire's the one who's like, look, dude, this is your calling. You need to do this.
Well, Ken Squire, I'm telling you, in my world that I live in, Ken Squire is a big deal. I was down to the Motor Mile in Virginia racing, and I was racing for Scott Millington. He is a guy, he actually was born here in Barrie, lives in North Carolina now. But he had this big, it was at the time ARCA guru spotter that spotted for me, and he had a southern accent. And I remember Ken calling me when we're in the line, and Ken wanted something. He probably just wanted to talk about the sun that day or something. And so we're talking, and the guy's like, who is that you're on the phone with? And I said, I'm on the phone with Ken. And he's like, Ken who? I'm like, Ken Squire. Like, Ken's just a normal guy to me. And he's like, yeah, right. You're not on the phone with Ken Squire. I'm like, I'm on the phone with Ken Squire. And I get off the phone, and it was like I was talking to like royalty to this guy. And up here, Ken's a guy that we sit around and have a beer with.
Of course.
So he's
amazing.
He's a bigger deal in the racing community than we even can imagine.
Yeah. What was it like for you the first time you drove onto the track over at Loudon?
Honestly, I remember the first time more at Thunder Road than I do at Loudon. I remember
in an enduro car.
In an enduro car. Like,
wow.
To me, so when I was put on the racetrack at Thunder Road, it's funny now they're like my peers, but I looked up to these people as heroes, especially people that I watched. Like, you're a kid going to the races, and again, Dave Moody made them look heroic. So they were your childhood heroes, and you'd see them. Not that you're at an enduro, so you got a whole different cast of character, but you knew that like Chuck Bound had hit the racetrack at Thunder Road. Like, you're actually going on a racetrack that somebody else that was a big name has actually driven on this place. And Loudon should have felt the same way, but at that point I was kind of more in my career. When you went there, that was a big deal the first time going to Loudon for a lot of people. And it was me too, but I'm telling you, Thunder Road had more of a wow factor for me than going to Loudon.
What's the Invitational looking like for this year, obviously?
Unfortunately, I am not racing in it.
You won't be there. All right.
I've heard they got great numbers. I heard they got like 40 cars plus entered to race it. And Loudon,
you'll be there.
I'll be there watching, not driving. But Loudon is a pretty neat deal. I remember the first time we did go for that Invitational. That was probably, even though it looked empty, it was probably one of the larger attended races that we'll ever race in as a small late model community. And I think we put on a pretty good show. I finished second that day to Eddie McDonald. He had a lot of experience racing those kind of racetracks. It's a different kind of racing. It's a bigger track, even though in the grand scheme of things in like NASCAR world, it's a short track.
Yeah.
But for us, we race little cereal bowls. Like we're racing quarter-mile racetracks.
Yeah.
So it's, for us, you could read a book down the backstretch. So it's, it's just a different kind of racing.
Got to remember when I was at Froggy, the word coming out that there was going to be an invitational.
Yep.
That this was being born. How exciting.
I remember when we were there, Tom Curley, of course, I'm sure you've heard the history of Tom Curley. He was a part of NASCAR way back in the day, and then they split. So he had almost like a personal vendetta when we were there to make our show look as superior as it could and as professional as it could. And I remember his driver's meeting. He's like, if you guys mess up out there, I beg you to never get back in a race car again. Like it was,
wow.
He was so serious, and he had meetings upon meetings because he just wanted it to go off with such a good bang, and it did. Like he had the right people there. I remember he had a ton of teams that wanted to race in it. At that time, he had over like 80 teams in ACT, so he had to hand pick who he had, and we were the last kid picked when we went there. And so when we went down, I think it was a couple years later, Eddie McDonald and I once again were racing, and we had a back and forth battle, and they said arguably that was the best race of the weekend.
Wow.
So it was pretty neat. The race, I remember looking up in the stands after, in the place they had the modified race before, and it's like checker block full for the modifieds, and usually it filters out, but our race, there was a ton of people still there, and that was a pretty neat deal to get to race in front of a crowd like that and put on a show like that.
Let's wrap up with some love to your sponsors and your team.
Yeah, well, now my sponsors, they're my friends. Jeremy Bevins, he owns the Brookside store there right in Barrie. He's a guy that's been helping me on the race car a couple years now, and his son, it's funny, his son plays hockey with my oldest son, so we kind of got to know each other through hockey, and he's been involved in racing a long time, and he's been a great asset to the team, and he's one of my main sponsors. My personal performance parts business is the other one, and that's it for right now. I don't race enough to really go after sponsorship and stuff, and I've had a lot of great sponsors along the way. Before, when I was racing full time, obviously it was Frank, and then I had St. John's Barrie Auto. Like I've made a lot of great friends along the way, and we're good. We still talk to this day. People that were sponsors when I was racing full time at Thunder Road. So, but now I don't race enough, so I just kind of do it more out of pocket. And Jeremy helps out. And I'm very fortunate. I remember last year, he just randomly would show up with like these team uniforms. He's like, we look homeless. We got to at least have something so you don't look like we got a guy over there with a hole in his shirt. so he showed up with team uniforms, and that's I'm very fortunate to have him a part of the team.
You must be so excited, so anxious to get behind the wheel, man.
I am. So opening day, as of right now, I'm going to drive Eric's car, the 40 car. And I'm really excited. We've done some improvements to it. When I built my race car, I kind of built mine. It's its own animal because we were building it. It took me 4 years to build it, and I just did things that I've failed with and tried to perfect, and it's its own animal. So we're trying to do that to Eric's stuff and get his program better for him, and hopefully I can go out and have a good showing opening day, and then from there we'll get warm throughout the summer and enjoy the summer with him.
Fantastic, dude. Really enjoyed chatting with you, brother. And I can't thank you enough for carving out some time in your insane schedule.
Well, it was a pleasure to be on the show. It's always good to see you guys here, and I hope to come back.
Please do. Please do. Nick Sweet, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.